Beautiful. Welcome, Bliss Ohana. It's such an honor to be here with you today. My name is Stephanie Dawn. I'm a Blue Diamond with the company. And yes, I am the chair of the Million Mom Movement Council. And I am incredibly proud to function in that capacity. I sit on a council with 4 other women who are complete badasses. I don't know if you all know, but Taz Ferreira is a functional medicine doctor. And what she has to share for the entire field is just so fantastic. So for those of you that were there, amazing. If you weren't there, you'll find the recording on our YouTube channel, the Million Mom Movement YouTube channel. And we do this every month. And yes, we meet up every Friday as well for Fierce Friday. So if you're not tuning into what the Million Mom Movement has to offer, you definitely want to check it out. It is packed with value. We're here today to talk about motherhood, which is something that I deeply care about in my capacity as chair, and which I deeply care about in my capacity as a mother and as a woman who has a very large Purium team that is full of mothers. And mothers have unique challenges as well as fathers who are building a Purium business. But we're going to focus on the moms today. And we're going to focus on, we're going to talk to our head mom, Sarah Rhinelander, the chief mom, our 5-star crown, who is a longtime friend and colleague of mine. What you may not know is that Sarah was my first Connect call, you guys. She and I met while she was on the beach being a mom and talking to me about my health goals and educating me about the possibility of, working Purium to garner residual income. I was not interested at all. But there was Sarah working her business way back when in, what was it, Sarah, like 2016, I guess, 2015, actually, I think it was. Because I was on my way to go to Maui for my 50th birthday and I needed to lose weight really badly. So that was my entry with Purium, was vanity. And a lot has happened with my health in the last 6 years. I've been working Purium for 6 years. And Sarah was there at the start. And I really want to go back to that day, Sarah, where you were on the beach. I'm pretty sure that Oliko was already a part of your reality. And you had probably your other 2 children there as well. Before Uma, you were a mom of 3. So let's go back to that time when you were a Black Diamond, and let's talk about that moment in time, that encapsulation in time of, if you remember what it was like talking to me way back when. Back in the olden days. And our beginnings together as colleagues.
Yeah, I remember that moment. Like it's an image. Like I can still look into my archives and see that full replay of that experience in that time. And I actually, just before I start to share, I'd love to ask a question of everybody. And I just want to kind of find out how many of you, if you're a mom, if you're on the Zoom right now and you have children, type a 1, because this is, where we have a large percentage of mothers who are drawn to Purium because of the incredible nourishment, and because also we tend to magnetize who magnetizes often. So there is a high percentage of moms. And then for those of you who are not moms on this Zoom right now, if you've ever spoken with a mom, prospected a mom, seen a mom that you've wanted to talk to, type a 2 if you've ever had a conversation about Purium with a mother, even if you're not a mom. Great. Yeah, because this is I know, if you're on the Zoom and you're like, I'm not a mom, how does this even, apply to me? Well, it does, because you are, even if you don't now, you will have people that want to participate in this who are mothers, and many of them have lots of resistances around why they don't have the time, or why they don't have the the space or the money, and so this is hopefully going to give you guys some inspiration and some support of like how to have these conversations with other moments. So 2015, I was talking to Stephanie Dawn. I remember it wasn't even a connect call, I don't think, because I think someone just threw us together and didn't even introduce us. Hold on, I'm just gonna.
I think Loie brought us together. Loie Medvin.
Okay. But I don't remember. I don't think that she was actually on that call that day. I think that it was like an unconventional connect call, let's just say. And I remember like being in the water up to my ankles, chasing Oli around. He was probably nude on a beach in Kauai at Anahola Beach. And here I was. And what I remember about that moment was I remember hearing your voice and asking you the question, what it is that's most inspiring for you. And then hearing your response about weight, but then also asking you, what is your life like right now? And you started to tell me about your coaching, and you started to tell me about, I think that you had been with doTERRA or Young Living or something, right?
But but not in any sort of way, but yeah.
Right. But that, that came into the conversation. And I remember just feeling this deep, like knowing. I was like, oh yeah. It was almost like I was, if any of you have ever gone fishing, right? But it was like, I was like, oh, like, I feel this, there's life on the other end of this line. I was like, woo, okay. So here I was, what had brought me to that space and time of being on the beach with my children, like working my business and living my life and having created some level of freedom in that, but also being like in the space of the build. Like I was like, I am on my mission right now. And so it was just very powerful I remember that it was very clearly because of the power in that moment of really recognizing and realizing like, I'm doing this, I'm creating this future that I've dreamed of, that I've visited, of not having to like kick my kids out of the house to do massages and not having to like navigate around Diego's video schedule and do all those things, but that here I was, and I was on my own time, and I was on my own, like I was creating my reality in that moment, and I was having fun, and I was like, oh, and I think I was probably like, oh, hang on a second, like I have to fish my baby out of the ocean, like whatever, like it was just, and that's always been the way that I've lived my business. And I think that's also something to really bring through here is for any moms who ever feel like, oh no, like I can't have my baby, present, or like I have to be like so ultra professional, and like I can never have like any, noise or right. Like I didn't throw it out the window completely, but really from the very beginning, I realized and recognized that in order for this to work for me, it had to work for me as a mother with multiple children and in like a very unscheduled, I'm not in a cubicle, like with my times that I'm, with my times that I'm like, okay, I'm in the office from this time to this time. It was always, very spontaneous, and being able to be in that spontaneity, but also being able to be flexible and in that posture of like, I'm a mom. I'm building this business as a mom so that I can be with my children and have this freedom to live my life on my own terms with my kids. And so, yeah, my kids are like in the picture, and I never, it was just, it was always just such a part of my of my life with Purium, even, going to all the events with all my kids, and like for the first year and a half, it was just me and Oli going to all the events, and like he would always get passed around, and like, it was just always, it just merged in with my life. And that, I think, was something that really fortified me in this process, was that I didn't have to separate my business from my family, that there was this, just this beautiful merging of the two. Yeah. Me breastfeeding on a corporate call. Right. And it, like, all the events, and I remember there's a picture of me the last, like, right before everything kind of changed in 2020. I actually, like, the weekend before all of the flights got canceled, I went to the Big Island to support Christina in building in hosting an event for her right there. And it was really like part of this continuation of this plan to bring her into Crown. And so I went to the Big Island, and I had just given birth. I had a 3-month-old baby. Uma was tiny. It was like, I was normally, I was like, okay, I'm going to go out there into the world with my baby and get on an airplane. And like, there's like people with masks, like, it was like, it was literally like April or whatever. It was like the weekend before they closed everything down. And I went and I hosted this event, like, on the microphone from the stage with the baby carrier on my body, and the baby sleeping. Uma was just sleeping, or like nursing, or whatever she was doing. And here I was, like, on stage in front of people, and just doing my thing as a mom, and and building a business, and like, just, holding that, and not only holding it, but feeling supported to do it that way. Because honestly, I wasn't going to take I wasn't available for it not to be supported, like, so that's another piece, is like really how we posture, how we hold ourselves in our space is underscoring like the agreements that we're available to make. And so if I had been like, oh gosh, sorry, gosh, like, I'm just gonna like, right. But I just always was like, this is me. This is how I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this. Yeah. Your children are your reason, not your excuse to stand up and like create your future in this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Beautiful. I want to go back to something that you just said, the decision, the posture, the knowing, the rootedness really of the declaration that I am doing this. Will you speak a little bit more to that? Because I think that's an enormous reason why you've become as successful as you have been, because there really was no plan B, right, Sarah?
No, there was not. I mean, plan B was not an option. I mean, when I made the decision, and this is really what I would say, that I see in people, like, and that was, even though I didn't hear you make the decision in that moment, Stephanie, I knew that that you had the strength in you, like that you could make a decision, like that you were a powerful, like, someone who could really stand and say, this is what I'm doing. And everybody has that capability inside of them. Every single person on the Zoom, you have the capability to stand up and say, I am deciding to do this. I am deciding to change. I am deciding the direction that my life is going. And, it's really how deeply we make that decision, how courageously we can stand by ourselves, in alliance with ourselves, in a decision like that, even when it feels like everything in life is in opposition almost to us changing in these ways. Mm-hmm. Right? That when I said, I am doing this, I meant it. And I just want to bring in kind of this, like, this energetic of what happens when we make a decision to change, is that we make a decision to change because whatever it is that we're experiencing in the moment, we've outgrown on some level, that there's a place in us that's no longer comfortable, and we can see this all in nature, especially with certain creatures like, hermit crabs and snakes and like these creatures that actually like literally outgrow their skin and shed that and then move into this new, place. And so what happens for me is I was like, I've been a body worker. I've been doing this work for a long time. And I, at a certain point, looked up and said, this is going to take me to my grave. Like, this is going to be, I will still be doing this until I can no longer do anything. And I will not be in the place that I desire to be and living. I got really clear on what I want in my life to, like, where was the higher octave that I was, like, I knew where I was going. It wasn't like, oh, I just don't want to be here anymore. It was like, I know where I'm going. I know what I'm creating. I know what I want my life to feel like. I know what I am not, what is a non-negotiable for me. And so when I made the decision to like shed this old way, this old relationship with money, this old way of being in my world, the way that life was shaping me, and said, okay, now I'm going to shape life, that the decision and the vision of where we're going is what carries us through the chaos that exists between these two worlds, right? The world that I outgrown and the world that I'm growing into. And so that is why, like, it's the decision that you make that will fortify you through, because if you haven't like really, really decided, then the weight of this, the ease of this, the comfort, it will suck you back. Mm-hmm. It will bring you right back in. And then, you can just live in that way forever and never really feel at home anymore. But when you like really make the decision, that the decision and the community, like staying close to the community, really, all the things, all the systems, all the ways that everything's set up, it's designed to move us mm-hmm. through the space of the in-between, mm-hmm. which is like, I have a Green Diamond team and I have a job still. I'm like, I'm having to like work with all these different people and like still show up at my work and like have all my kids and like, how do I navigate, all these things? And it feels like so much. And yet I'm not already getting paid enough to be able to devote my time fully. Right. And this is something that I hear often is like, sometimes, these places. So then how can we expand? Mm-hmm. Like, and see, okay, I'm stepping into that. So I have to start to make space for that here. Right. So that I can get to there.
So this is so beautiful and so rich. Thank you. I keep thinking of this statement that one of my spiritual teachers has said for many years now, Reverend Michael Beckwith. He says, the pain pushes until the vision pulls. And so what I'm hearing is that you were so connected and you were so rooted to where you were going, that was the energy with which that carried you through the difficult times, the chaos, as you mentioned, all the family stuff that we all go through as moms. There's just so much we have to do, right? There's just so much that we have to do as moms. And oftentimes caring for ourselves becomes very secondary. And so what I love about what we have here is that Purium really teaches us how to put ourselves first, in nourishing ourselves first and filling up our well so that we can give to everybody else. I love that's what it's really done for me as a mom and as a woman who has a large team in my own right. And so thinking about travel, because we're all about to travel soon. Several of us, not all of us, but there will be more. If you're not coming to this Diamond Club, there will be more Diamond Clubs. But we haven't been traveling in a really long time, but we used to meet up all the time. I was reflecting on it the other day, Sarah, that I would go to at least 5 large Purium events in a year and many other smaller events that were happening at corporate, because I lived in LA and I would go to the healthy happy hours that Dave and Amy would have all the time. And it was such a gift that we had that. And we haven't had that for the last couple of years. So we've been functioning in this virtual reality, but seeing as we are about to get into travel and people are going to be thinking about, how can I do this? How can I travel and make it happen? While I have this other work, or who will care for my babies while I'm gone, or will I take my babies with me? So all these decisions. So will you speak to that a little bit? Because I know that you did a lot of that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So traveling was always part. I'm curious, like, have any of you, like, if you've ever made a wish or like had a vision of like, I just want to get paid to travel. Wouldn't it be so fun if I could travel for work? Like, just let me know in the comments, like just type travel in the comments, or do like a little airplane or something. Like if that's been a dream of yours, if that's been a vision of yours to have, an income, a business, a vehicle that literally takes you all around. And that was definitely a huge part of my dream of being able to travel with my family. And look at me now, I'm living in South America. But that was always like a big part of my vision and of my dream. And so I actually remember the very first time that I traveled for work was right after I enrolled. My upline Willow was like, first I was like, oh, fine. Like I said yes to Purium because I had the vision of the money, but and the transformation, but I still was like, not like fully, on board with like the model or whatever. I was still in my like, and she told me that there was an event in Oahu that was happening. She's like, you should come to this with me. And I was like, look, I already just invested like all of our money into this package of superfoods. Like I hit consultant and made like $50. I have 3 kids. There's no way that I'm going to leave Diego by himself with my older 2 kids and like take my tiny baby on a airplane to Oahu with money that I don't even have to do some event that I have to pay for. And like, no way, I'm not going to Oahu. Like I just bought my thing. Like let me get started here. And Willow, being Willow, was like very insistent because she knew that if I got there, if I got in the door, if I felt the energy, that it would change my trajectory. And every single event that I've been to over the past 7 years has awakened something deeper in me. It's created more connection. It's brought out like another part of this experience for me. It's deepened my belief. It's just, there's nothing more powerful than being together in person. And so Willow told me that she was like, look, just come. I'll help you with Oli. I'll rent the car. I'll pay for your ticket. It was like $45 to go to the event. It was a day-long thing in Oahu. She's like, I'll buy your ticket. And, you find us a place to stay. And I was like, I have a friend whose mom lives in the area of where the event was happening. So I called her and she said that we could stay there. So we just like pulled it together. Me and Willow like flew to Oahu, and I had to create inside of myself this sense that I was worth, that my vision was worth, that I could like trust the power of what I was seeing and experiencing enough to even, and again, this is like a posture thing, to even like ask my husband if he would watch, if he would like stay with the kids by himself. And we had never done that before. Like it had never, like we'd always been all together the whole time. And so I was like, that was like it's a stage, things that we have to go through internally to say like, I'm worth it. Like these are the things that make us magnetic to money, is knowing our own self-worth. So this is a process that I see many people go through in this experience of business. It's like when someone, right before they hit diamond or right before they hit crown, there's something inside of them that shifts. That's like, I have a different relationship with my boundaries of what I will allow in my life and not allow in my life, because I value myself in a different way now. I just want to let that sink in. That the way that we hold our boundaries in our world is a direct reflection of how we value our own selves. And as we develop that sense of value and self-worth, it changes how we move in the world. And so that was like step, 0.3 in my journey, was like, okay, like, well, I guess I'll just ask Diego, like, if he would stay with the kids. And he was, of course, like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. No worries, go have fun. But I was nervous because I didn't have that, like, I'm doing this yet, right?
Right.
So we went to this event. We stayed on the couch at my auntie's house, my friend's mom's house in Oahu. We went to the event. And I'm going to tell you guys a story because it's a great story, and then we'll switch topics. But it was a defining moment for me. Like if I hadn't have gone to that event, I would not probably have continued this process, because at that event, that was where, up until then, I was like, oh yeah, like whatever these like supplement things are, I'm sure that they'll be good for people who don't know how to eat right, whatever. It was like, I didn't get it. I didn't understand. I didn't have that sense of like what was really going on. And at that event, Dave got on, like all of it was kind of cheesy, and like they were playing like, let's get it started in here. Like, I was like, oh my God, like this is just so cringy. But then Dave got on stage, and I was like, oh, it's just like this MLM thing. Yeah. And then Dave got on stage and I was like, oh, whoa. Like this guy knows what's up. And then by the end of the day, I was like, okay, this is like, this is my people. Too legit to quit, baby. But interestingly, like, and I just want to share this story, in the middle of that event, they rolled out lunch. So you may know this story. And lunch at this awesome organic superfoods company was like, because you have to order lunch from the venue, and it was some weird like church thing.
Yep.
And they rolled out sandwiches way back then, before they served good food. And it was like ham, roast beef, or turkey sandwich with like potato chips and water or soda kind of thing. It was, and I was just like, I had just heard Dave speak, and I was like, okay, like I'm getting into this, and then I was like, what in the actual F is going on here? Like, how can they be talking about that on stage and serving this food? And so me and Willow, who was also like at that point, like a, Rasta, like vegan Rasta, and of course it was also like the people who were putting on the events, and it was the whole thing. Like it wasn't the company, it wasn't a corporate event. But in my vision, I was like, okay, I knew it. This is just, like whatever, I knew it. And so Willow and I approached David Litt, who was at the event, who at that point was the vice president of sales and marketing. And we were like, bro, we can't eat this food. We won't eat this food. What's going on here? How is this so like, what? Like, what's up? And I was like, I paid money for this ticket that included lunch. I was a sass machine. I was like skeptic city, right? And I was just like, oh hell no, like this is not really like what. And David started to tell us, okay, well, just send me an email and I'll refund your ticket money. Okay, I'm really sorry. He was like, Dave is feeling the same way. Like he doesn't, you know, like we're all kind of just like working with, and you know, he gave me all the reasons and whatever. And it was just, he's like, so just send me an email. Here's my email address, and you know, I'll get the refund to you. And I was like, okay, fine. Like, I'll send you an email to get that refund, bro. And then he paused and he looked at us and he pulled out his wallet and he said, actually, you know what? Here's $100. Go to Down to Earth and go get some lunch on us. And for me at that time, $100 was like a pretty big deal for him to just like whip it out of his wallet and be like, whoosh. And that made such a big impression on me that, I mean, what I want to say is, the light is like turning dark out here. What I want to say in relationship to that is never underestimate the power of one decision that you can make in your life. Because if David Litt had not made that decision in that moment and busted out like the money and sent us on our merry way to get lunch, I would have left with a very, none of us would be here. Like that would have been the end of it for me. I was so just like, and that whole day, everything that I experienced that day was like laid down the foundation in so many ways of of what I've experienced the last 7 years. Mm-hmm. So travel with your babies, ladies.
Thank you for that. And what that story is underscoring for me, and I say this to my team all the time, is that this is a relational business. It's not a transactional business, you know? And so you're exemplifying that with this story in terms of how Willow got you to the event and how David Litt treated you. The smallest gestures make such an enormous impact. And I just had a chat with a colleague today, just completely turn around, because I was showing up in service. I wasn't showing up to sell her anything. I was showing up in service and I was really listening to her. And so it's really amazing how transformational that can be when we show up in genuine service and love, right? Which is what I truly believe that this company is all about, and which you so, beautifully embody, Sarah. So I just have a couple more questions, and then we're going to bring on Ms. Erika Closter, who we're going to go from mom of 4 to mom of 5. So I want to know, Sarah, when did you know that Purium was your exit strategy? At what point did you know that? When did the decision happen for you? Like, I'm doing this, it's happening, let's go.
So, I mean, gosh, there's been different points of different like levels of that. I would say the first moment that I really felt like, okay, this is happening, was one of these transformational moments when 6 months after I enrolled, like the first like 4 or 5 months, like barely anything happened in my business. Like I was, I was like, okay, there wasn't even fast start. I made like $50 for hitting consultant, $100 for hitting director, whatever. It was like, it was really different. And I was still like in that space of like, yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. Like, I don't know what I've been doing. Like, what am I doing here? And then 6 months to the day after I purchased my package, I hit Green Diamond. And it was 2 days after my entire apartment flooded. Like literally, Diego and I came back to our apartment after being at a yoga class or something, and or we were at the beach. I don't know. And we came back. We had like literally just bought this like old funky apartment that we were could barely get into it. You know, it was like, it took 3 months to close on it because we had, our finances were a mess and like just everything, you know. We finally like got this apartment, we moved in, and like less than a month later it flooded and there was like this much water because a water filter broke. And here I was, like my business was just starting to pick up momentum. I'd hit diamond for the first time the month before. It was June 21st, summer solstice. Winter solstice is when I actually ordered. And in that moment, I had the choice of saying, okay, well, like, I'm gonna have to deal with this. Like, I want to put my business on the back burner here because now I have to deal with all this cleanup and all this craziness. And like, they put us in a apartment on the like the insurance company, like, and we were out of that. We didn't go back to our house for like 2 months, actually, even longer, because we had to renovate everything. It was just crazy. And so I had a choice in that moment to say like, okay, well, this is just too chaotic. Like, I need to pause on my business and focus on my life for a minute. And it was like the energy was just carrying me and it moved me forward. Yeah. And I think at the end of that month, the end of May is when I signed up Rachel, right before the flood. And so here I was, like, displaced in this nasty, moldy apartment, like that the insurance had put us in. And I just never stopped. Like, I just was like, well, this is just part of, like, I had knew by that point because of my life previously as like a rolfer, and just like, I understood the energetics of transformation. I was like, well, this is really bad, but it probably means that it's like really, really, really freaking awesome. Because here comes the breakdown, right? And so I just stayed with the energy, and 2 days later I hit Green Diamond, and then a week later I hit Blue Diamond. A week later, in 1 week, my points went from 30,000 to 50,000, and I hit Blue Diamond before the end of the month even. And I was like in a hotel. By that time, we like moved to a hotel room. There was 5 of us. Diego was like trying to like edit his videos like in the hotel room because it was summer and wedding season. It was just like crazy chaos. And I just felt, I was like, okay, like everything is shedding. Like I'm shedding and releasing. And this is just what that process looks like right now. And I'm committed to building this new thing. And I just stayed with it. So that was like, you know, that month, I more than replaced my income that I had been making. I had doubled that month, the income that I've been making as a body worker. And I never booked a new client after that day.
Wow.
I finished up my people in the 10, but I never booked a new person in. And so, I mean, that was when I saw it like manifest, but the decision, I think that was like when I was really just like, okay, God's showing me, like I'm here for this. But in order to get to that place where that even happened, many decisions had been made over and over and over.
Yeah. I just want to pull out the gold nugget in that story because I just want to make sure that everyone's seeing this. So you had this really collapse of the world as you knew it, right? With the flood, which is obviously, we know that water is connected to emotions. There's something really big is brewing, right? And I'm sure it was difficult in your marriage back then. I can just imagine, right? Because there's just like the kids, the water, he's got his business, you've got your business, and yet you still have this vision. And through the vision, through the breakdown, we know that breakdowns happen for breakthroughs ultimately. And certainly that's exactly what happened from green to black. Or blue, sorry. Are y'all picking that up? Like from 30K to 50K in 1 week. So I just want to underscore that because sometimes this business can feel like it's going really, really slow and nothing's happening. And so I like to sort of underscore and highlight a story such as this with Sarah, because when you have a bunch of inspired and excited people underneath you that are sharing, it can catapult you. right? And that's what happened for you, Sarah. And then you knew, I'm in this, we're doing it, it's happening, you know. And I'll never forget, I was like on the road to you're running for Red Diamond. I remember it vividly. We were driving to Montana, the Montana before I left my family gathering to go to, I think it was Orlando for our convention. And you called me up and you were like, I'm running for Red, you know, and you were just like, you were going for the business. So I want to talk about that for a moment, because you were like no holds barred, right? And I can remember, you know, I can remember thinking, wow, that was bold. She just called me. I'm on vacation, you know, like that was bold of her to reach out to me and ask me to be generating business right now, you know. And but I really, I said it to one of my downline yesterday. I'm like, ask for the business, ask for the business. You know, that is that is indicative of the fact that you're regarding your business as a professional, and that you're committed to what you're creating, and that you are brave enough and bold enough to ask, because people will either give you a yes or a no, you know. So, but if you don't ask, we don't get, right?
Yep. And actually, I wasn't running for Red Diamond. I was running for Crown.
Yeah, right.
And I
Yeah.
didn't hit Crown.
Right.
I was running for Crown to
Yeah.
show up at convention as Crown.
Mhm.
And there was so much energy that was being generated, and everybody in the company was like, because at that point there was sort of this lull in crowns. There had been like a little bit of, you know, just a lot. I mean, companies go through their waves, and you know, there was like a lot of like support, not pressure, but there was definitely a lot of like, okay, just whatever you need, just like go for it. And because everybody was like wanting me to show up at that convention as Crown, including the owners, including my upload, like and so I was just, okay, like I'm going to do whatever it takes to get to Crown. And I ended up being like 17,000 points short of Crown. And I remember that day, it was the last day of the month. I was at the like the life celebration for the passing of my mentor in Rolfing, interestingly enough, that he had passed, and we were there celebrating his life on the last day of the month. And I just remember being like, I'm not going to hit Crown today. And I just turned off my phone and was like, I'm present here. And I closed that cycle. And then I showed up at convention and I was Red Diamond still, you know, but they had made it at that convention. They allowed Red Diamonds to speak. Usually it's only Crowns, but they wanted to have me share my voice. So they opened it up to all Red Diamonds. And I remember like, just for the first time, because I'd always been really petrified and scared to death of speaking on stage. It was like my biggest phobia. I could not even like imagine. It was like, I'm going to barf, you know, thinking about it. But I remember that day as the time was approaching for me to get on stage, that there was like these lines that just kind of came in, like they just came in and like settled in as this message that was like coming through. And it was like the first line. And then like, you know, 15 minutes later, the second line. And I was like remembering all of this somehow. And I got up on stage and I just like shared this message on the mic for like 3 minutes. And I was like, whoa, like I can actually talk to people.
Yes, you can.
So from that point, between that convention where I showed up as Red Diamond and the next convention, I showed up at convention as 3-star Crown. So we always have this, you know, I feel like we always have that opportunity, right? When we say what we want, when we ask for what we want, when we really commit to what we want, there's always an opportunity for us to get it or not. It's not about whether or not we get it in that moment. It's not about whether or not we hit that rank that month. That I wrote diamond on my business plan for 6 months when I started my business. And I was like, when am I actually ever going to hit diamond? Same with crown. Like, as I started my business, I was like, I'm going to be a crown. And it took me, almost 2 years. But it's not about, like, it's not, there's never a failure ever when you go for your vision with commitment. Like, saying that you want something and acting, like standing up and like doing it, is not a failure, even if you don't make it. The only way that you can fail is if I had written like, well, I'm already red diamond, I'm not going to hit crown. Like, I'm just not even going to go for it. Cause what if I don't make it? Or like, what if I ask Stephanie, like tell her I'm running for crown and she like drops out of my business, or, it's like, there's always like this opportunity to talk ourselves out of the stretch.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the stretch is what makes us into the person that can actually get to the goal, that can actually experience that can hold that. It doesn't just drop into your like body from above, where it's like, oh, and now like your fairy godmother like waves her wand and she's like, and now you're crown, you asked for a crown. Like, you're gonna be like confronted by your own self over and over and over and over and over. And that's the opportunity, because those are the moments when we can actually start to shift out of the things that are no longer serving us and into the things that will.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for your majesty, really. I mean, there's just you're a matriarch of your own family. You're a matriarch of this beautiful bliss ohana. I thank God often that you're, my lineage, that I get to work with you and I get to do this and I get to learn from you. And I'm so grateful for all the golden nuggets today. Bless you.
Thank you, Steph. Love you.
I love you. I love you so much. And this level of leadership has been such a powerful container. Can we drop some love in the chat for Sarah? Because we didn't have her often until this level up leadership. And so it's just been so amazing having you every week, right? Every week, Sarah, we've had you. And it's been a huge gift for me and my organization, because I had people that didn't even know who you were, right? And now, this is our penultimate week, right? We've got one more week. So, before Diamond Club. So I want to pivot here and bring on Erika Closter, who we're going to be going over the hour for those of you that can stay. And if you can't, that's fine. But this is a mama that I love deeply. And she's my OG Purium tribe. She and I and Christina connected way back when, during those times on Kauai when we all used to gather. And I just fell in love with her in the early days. And are you there, Erika?
Yes, I am.
Hi,
Aloha.
Mama. Hi. Oh, look at you with your necklace, your sunrise shell. Yeah. So you feel like a sister to me. You are just an incredible woman and a mom in your own right. And I feel so blessed that we've traversed along this path together as moms supporting each other. Erika's currently my accountability partner, Erika and Rita. I've got 2 accountability partners right now. And we talk often and love on each other often in regards to our business and life, because our business is our life, right? There's no separation, right, Erika? And so, one of the things that Sarah said at the very end that I just want to piggyback on is when she turned off her phone that one day when with the loss of her mentor, and the clear boundary that she had there of turning off her phone and really being present and making time for the sacred relationship that she had with her mentor. And so I want to just surf on that a little bit with you, Erika, because as a mother of 5 who has a homesteading farm on the Big Island, boundaries are really important. Yes. Being able to hold them with your 5 and being able to hold them with your team when you need to be with your family. So will you speak to that a little bit, Erika?
Yes, absolutely. And I love being here with you women. Stephanie and Sarah, you both have been like incredible sources of inspiration for me. And Purium has actually really helped me develop a healthy relationship with boundaries, right? And you touched on this earlier, Stephanie, around how, thank Goddess, we have a business rooted in self-care, because it really does support us to not neglect that, which is a tendency for a lot of mothers. We just often are in service to others before ourselves. And so for me, my practice of creating and holding boundaries often looks like really nurturing my self-care practices first. And then like from that place of like conscious creation, being intentional, and in that state of overflow, showing up for the other things, be it work, my online entrepreneurial business, my work on my land with my farm, and my motherhood. And I love actually starting with a really visionary practice. We're blessed in Purium again when we do our first of the month rituals and we do our business plan. And I like to also look at all the things that are super important to me in my life, even including like my time at the ocean, my time doing exercise, my time in my garden, my time with my kids, even like I'll get into the minutia of like, make sure I'm doing a bedtime story with my littlest one or whatever. So when that's all like in the circle, in my field of awareness, what's really important, I make a time. I remember I was like, okay, I've only got so many hours in the day. I have a very full life. I'm like the excuse buster for most women who know me. And I make a place in my life, in my calendar, for the things that are the non-negotiable priorities for me. And when I have my time block for business, I'll even compartmentalize that. Like, okay, here's when I'm showing up for like connect calls. Here's when I'm showing up for prospecting. Here's when I'm showing up for our social media content creation. And I try to really, especially lately in my own journey of growth and looking at how I can move the needle forward, prioritize my prospecting time. But when I make a place for things, then I really have to step into that boundary of my own accountability and my own discipline and like turn into the next time block when it's time and no longer allow like the hemorrhaging of energy into something when I've already allotted it for something else. So I'm very, I'm clear about that. And I try to really hold a discipline with it because it does give a freedom and a liberation to knowing like I can be fully present with my kids or with making dinner or with attending, you know, a activity where we're, you know, enjoying play with each other if I'm not trying to do business at the same time because I'm fully present. And the only way to really stand in that full presence is to give everything its full presence, even in small chunks. So that's kind of what's worked for me. And I could say more about it, but I know we have lots to say and I'll keep it concise for today.
Yeah, totally. So you are a Green Diamond with the company. Mm-hmm. And you have a team that you're working all over the United States and probably beyond, I would imagine. And you are, you've been working at this for a while now, as well as doing other things to earn money. My curiosity is, you know, at what point, similar to when I was chatting with Sarah, at what point did you know, like, this is it for me? Like Purium is it for me and I'm going to go for it come what may.
Mm-hmm. Well, off the top of my head, I guess there's two things coming up for me in response. And one is honestly, having really witnessed and fallen in love with watching Sarah Rhinelander's path and how she's cultivated what she has as a woman, as a mother, as a leader. And part of really why I'm here is because of the strength and resilience that she's embodied. And I've always told myself, if she can do this, I can do this, right? I remember, like you, my initial connect call was with Sarah, and it was probably like 9 or 10 at night after I put my kids to bed. And Christina invited me to get on the phone with Sarah. And I was thinking, this is an odd time for a business call. And we're like, well, we're all moms. And now we can have a conversation. And so for me, witnessing the people who have gone before, who created success, and I always remember that, that like saying or awareness to admire those whose life looks more of like what I want to cultivate for myself, not to take advice or inspiration from someone who doesn't reflect anything of what I want to be about. And, you know, I'd seen the life that Sarah created for herself, living on an island, just a few islands over with her family, and creating time freedom and location freedom. And I was a single mom who had recently, when Purium came into my life, found myself newly a single mom, newly postpartum after 5 babies. Like, I was in a trench of depletion and deficiency on every level. And I was ready for a catapult up. And so I kept seeing, you know, this promise, this vision of, if others can do this, I know that I can do this. And if I stick with it, you know, I believe in what's possible. And again, like was said earlier, coming to live events completely solidified and built that belief for me. So that was huge. And one of the other things I wanted to share is that I really knew that this was something that I could absolutely commit myself to and expand with long term when I finally understood the power of residual income. And that specifically happened for me at a moment when I like had a natural disaster on the home front. Literally, there was a volcanic lava flow that took out my entire county and everyone I had built an organization with the year and a half prior, as well as the place I called home. And in that time, I really needed to put my business on pause for a good 6 months or something. I was like, don't even talk to me about a call. I even took my family to live in a tent on my uplands land because we were in displacement and we were in survival mode. But what I did experience is that I was continuing to get paid, and I was continuing over months and months, receive that direct deposit when I really needed it, when like I didn't even know how basic survival needs were going to be met. And it was so impactful that I was like, oh, now nothing I've ever done before was actually delivering that same steady income into my life when I was no longer showing up for it, when I was clearly like line drawn, cannot do anything in the realm of being an entrepreneur right now until I can settle again. It still gave back to me. And I realized that that was something that I not only wanted more of, but I wanted to share with everyone. I was like, this is the solution, right? And then we've seen other global disasters and the COVID reality and so forth. And I'm like, this is something I can authentically talk about the significance of and really help other people see how relative it is and how valuable it is. So that was really what helped me just like feel completely locked arms with Purium as a company and network marketing as an industry and an opportunity that I want to be a part of, you know, for as long as I can imagine.
Yeah, same. I feel the exact same way. I'm a lifer. I'm so happy to be that. And this is my family, you know, this really is my family. And so I want to speak to when I was doing some research for today's Zoom, I went back to a blog on the Million Mom Movement blog that I did an interview with Sarah several years back. And I just want to point you all to that blog. It was when Sarah was a mother of 3 and she just made her first $1 million, or her organization had, and it was a big deal. And so there was something that she said in that interview. And I have it here, Erika. Be willing to give up what I want now for what I want most. So I want to speak to that with you, Erika, because it can feel like the sacrifices that we're making are really hard in the moment, right? And then you heard Sarah talking about her vision of what she was working, for. And so will you just like feel into that quote from Sarah and how you relate to that? Be willing to give up what I want now for what I want most.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really resonant with me, and it reminds me how I've been on this journey for about 5.5 years now. And like, I've been slow and steady. I was never fast start anything, but I've been methodical and I've been steadfast in what I have been doing to a degree that has kept me in the game this long and kept me in the mindset of expansion. Right. And for this whole time, a chapter of about 7.5 years now, or something, I lost track of being a single parent. It's kind of paralleled my journey with Purium in that it's kept me focused on a long-term vision and big picture goals. Mm-hmm. And it's kept me completely not choosing like short-term distractions or thrills, right? So every day for me has looked like really showing up for responsibilities, being having that consciousness about the bigger aspects of what I'm growing in my life, where my creation energy is going into. And when I would finish tending to the things of the day, like I literally for years, especially in the beginning, sat down and educated myself at night around how to do this business better, entrepreneurial skills, communication skills. I would watch a massive library of recordings of trainings, like slip into the bathtub at night. I remember Sarah and I had this conversation. I was like, I love it when I'm done with bedtime to like literally get in the bathtub and put on some of your trainings. And she laughed for a long time about that. Literally, like, I wasn't tuning into, Netflix or television or going out to parties. I wasn't like, how can I like get my happy on in these short-term bursts? Like I was like, I'm here for something much bigger. I'm thinking about the life I want to live with my children well down the road, the farm I want to build, the community I want to elevate, and for many years, I mean, I was in like a struggling renter reality and a homeless reality. And because I've been so persistent, consistent toward my goals, like I've now fully manifested living in a homestead that my family owns. And I've supported my mother into retirement to join us here. And I'm like literally creating this amplified expansion of all those prayers that I really held close. And I feel like when we are so directive and intent on where our energy is going, in the day-to-day, as well as in the bigger picture, like the universe just wants to meet us there in that field of helping our prayers be heard and answered. And we don't always know how the ends are going to link up or what players are going to be involved or what wins we're going to have. But it's like, if we just keep aligning and walking toward that with our breath, with our everyday action steps, with our, bigger visions, like they become what we're breathing life into. So that's been my experience. And I feel like, did I answer the question enough?
Yes. Oh yeah, it's so beautiful. Yeah. So I just want to, I'm just, that vision of you in the bathtub is so sweet. And I'm sure there's many moms that can relate here, but let's be honest, Sarah, when you share with us the way that you have been during this level up leadership, it is medicine. The transmission is sacred medicine. That's why, when we have our sacred self-care time and we have that vision of where we're going with Purium, it's like, yeah, I'm going to drop into what Sarah laid down or Rita or Mary Beth or whatever, Christina, it's like, it's medicine, it's powerful. It's really powerful.
Right. And I want to say, like, as busy moms, like, we still got to show up to wash the dishes, take care of the clothes, to empty the car, to like do the little self-care things, and we can also input something into our minds while we're in the doing of things, which is actually a really beautiful way to integrate the knowledge and our prayer and our vision and our why is like in the doing, right? It's like, yeah, I'm there, I'm washing my hair, I'm cleaning my toes and whatever. But on my mind, I'm like, okay, my consciousness is like way out in the field and I'm connected to my bigger vision. And then when morning comes around and I actually have a time block and it's go time, I know exactly what I'm transmitting and who I want to talk to, right?
Yeah.
So it's powerful that we do have this ability to continue to bring in that medicine and input into our minds, even when we think like, I got so much to do. It's like, yeah, but are we jamming out to music? Are we listening to podcasts? You know, could we be putting on personal and professional development tools relative to the business that we say we want to grow in those moments? And the answer is absolutely.
Yeah. Amen, girl. Oh, this has been so good. So juicy. I just love you so much. And I love you, Sarah Rhinelander, so much. And I'm just so grateful that we have this gorgeous container to have these really wonderful conversations in and really celebrate women and celebrate mothers. And, you know, for those of you who are the men that are listening to this, you have many women in your life, I'm sure, and many moms that you're going to be bringing into your organization. So I hope this was valuable for you all. I do want to say I have a couple of announcements. This Fierce Friday, it's Earth Day. Dave Sandoval is doing a takeover on Fierce Friday. So come and listen to Dave at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard. And then next Tuesday, my second event, Nourish Women Now, is happening. And I'll put that in the leadership threads, and then you can get that all out to your teams. But that's for the whole field. It's really, and Sarah, what you shared, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, the last 5 minutes just really helped me pivot in terms of how it is that I'm speaking to these professionals about, you know, burnout, on-call life, financial well-being, all of that. So thank you for that. And I feel so blessed to have been asked to do this today. I hope it was valuable for you. Go out, go live, take this to your team, take this into the field, your community, and share what we have, because it's so incredibly important what we're doing here. And yeah, just sending you all so much love. All right. Goodbye. Aloha.
I did also just want to mention that, yes, next week will be our last Level Up Leadership. And then, you know, we will be announcing what is coming next.
Yeah. Totally.
But yeah, there's going to be a shift with Diamond Club happening, and just, you know, a lot of energy moving. So come next week, and celebrate with us the completion of this amazing container.
Yay.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.